Hi, I'm Tom Laux, Communications Director, City of Marshfield, and we're coming here from the studio. We are via Zoom this time because of COVID-19, and it is a new year, 2021. It's already here, and we're doing a lot of work here in the city, a lot of new things. This is our council preview time, and it's going to be our first council meeting of the year, January 12th, 6 p.m. on a Tuesday in the council chambers. You can come in person if you would like. And Steve, our city administrator, has joined us here via Zoom from his home. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tom. It's good to be here. And I'll just throw it out there. You mentioned COVID. I've actually been quarantined for a while due to COVID exposure, and I actually believe that I may have COVID now myself. I'm actually doing pretty well, but I encourage everybody to continue the protections that they can do with masking and social distancing in order to prevent the spread of COVID.
Alrighty, yes, that's very important for everyone to limit the spread, and that's definitely why we're doing this here via Zoom, and you're not here at the studio, and protecting us as well as other coworkers. So thank you, Steve, for staying home. Yeah. Well, let's get right into this. We have first part of it, talk about what's on the agenda. It is light. Then we'll wrap up 2020. Steve has a lot of stuff that he could share, what we went through as a city, and hopefully that you'll find more information to help you better understand where we're going in 2021. So let's talk about the utility. That's a big project that's going to be happening, and it's not going to happen in just 1 year if this all goes through here coming up.
Yeah, ever since I got here back in January of 2011, Tom, I've heard talk about how Marshfield Utilities has long wanted to consolidate its full operations at the location next to what's now the former HEFCO pool. They have water operations at a different location, and they have their different sub-sites, but they'd like to get it all under one roof and build a nice expansion and remodeling to the current structure. And we've really had a lot of discussion lately about how that can coexist nicely with Van de Hey Waters, which I'm going to talk about when we get to the year-end report from 2020. But back in January, the council authorized them to spend considerable amount of money on design, engineering, architectural, site planning work for this facility. And so they've been moving ahead. They've been pressing down the highway, and now we're at the point where the last piece really needed for Marshfield Utilities to move forward is the council authorizing the bonding for the project. And you'll be seeing that on Tuesday night. The bids have come in, and I understand from Nick Cum of Marshfield Utilities that they are quite positive that they've come in under budget, and that's a good thing. So now we'll be looking to see if the council still feels comfortable moving ahead.
All right, so Nick will be on site or Zoom, I shall say, with a presentation, and the council has to give their blessing to move forward at this meeting, correct?
Correct, and if you recall, and I'm sure you do, Tom, there's been some discussion about this, some at regular council meetings, and at least one time at a joint council meeting that was held between the Utilities Commission and the council back in September. And the council has raised some concerns, at least some members have, about the size and scope of the project. It's roughly $18 million, a little bit under that, and about the fact that they're intending to borrow all the money instead of using some of their reserve funds and borrowing less. And there have been some other questions raised about the project as well. So I don't expect it to be just a quick vote. I expect there to be some conversation about the project and about the details. I think the council will be very pleased to hear that the bids came in under budget. That's always a good thing. But we'll probably still revisit some of the old topics in terms of, again, the size and scope and how the project is funded overall.
All right. Well, just in case there's some new people that have moved to town, are tuning in or haven't really stayed in contact with us, this is going to be in its present location. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. And again, going back to what I was starting to allude to a minute ago, when it became evident that Marshfield Utilities wanted to expand its footprint and build a new facility on the present site, and the city wanted to build an aquatic center in the former HEFCO pool location, people started saying, at least a few people started saying, will this all fit? In other words, is it going to be too crowded? Will the building be too close to the pool, and those kind of things. A lot of great work by Nick Cum and his staff and the commission, Justin Casperson, our Parks and Recreation Director, consultants working for both parties, getting their heads together. I think they've come up with a situation where the two can coexist rather nicely. And you'll see that coming together in the next couple of years, starting with Van de Hey Waters opening in 2021 and the completion of the utilities building subsequent to that.
All right, Steve. Well, thank you for that about the utility. We'll see what happens on Tuesday night. Again, if I'm sure there's any kind of questions, they can always call the utility, or again, come to the council meeting. It is open to the public, or watch on our Facebook channel or our television channel 991, excuse me. All right. We can talk a little bit about our brand new website that was rolled out. I plan on giving a presentation on Tuesday night, short presentation, just highlighting some of the items that are on the new website, the few new tools for people to engage with us. I'll let you ask those questions of me.
Yeah, I always like when I get to interview you. I get to be on the other side of the table, right? Tom, why don't you just start out a little bit by talking to our viewers about why there was a need for an upgraded website?
Well, our old website, and I'll call it old as of now since it is old, was debuted in about 2014. And there's been a lot of changes in the world of websites out there and how people view websites. And are they mobile friendly? How do they access information? Everyone does access information differently than they did in 2014. And we needed to make a change. And more people access information online than ever before. Over 90% of people now have smartphones. And that site wasn't totally called responsive site, that they could see items they're looking for correctly on a mobile or a tablet. They could see it on a desktop, but not on a mobile phone, which a lot of people want to do that. And they also want to get in touch with us easily by their phone versus trying to remember a phone number. All those things make it much easier on a new website like we have to get in touch with us at the city. They can actually click on the link to the phone number and it automatically dials their phone versus trying to type it in. There's going to be a notification system that's built into it that we will have. It's not totally up and running because there are a lot of new bells and whistles. So I don't want to say be prepared, but be on the lookout. We'll be letting people know about our notifications when a certain page is updated. So for instance, like closures, the Park and Rec may close the pool or close a skating rink. You can sign up for those notifications and get those either via text or via an email, and you can always opt out. So it's a nice way to get instant information from the city, and our other website couldn't do that. There are a lot of other functions, hopefully easier navigation to find things. That's really important. Less scrolling, less looking for something you can't find. It's important. We know that time is precious, and when you're looking for something like a permit or something, you really want to get to it now and move on with your business. We understand that, and that's our goal, is to make it easier for the public to engage and work with us.
You did a really outstanding job in putting together the communications plan that was adopted by the council in the fall. You had help, obviously, from the communications committee, David Bennett, who does a great job working with you. But maybe talk a little bit about how the website fits into the overall communications plan. I mean, there's social media, there's traditional media, there's so much. What's the website's role in terms of helping us connect with the public?
What we're always going to look at right now is the website is our heart of our operation. We look at that as where people need to go for information first, and then we will spread that information out on other platforms. So working with staff does update the website. They're the ones that put a lot of the content on. It does go through a review process that we have just implemented, that will go through our communications department to make sure things are good. And it also helps us understand when something's posted, should that get out on another platform. And that's what's unique about this system that we didn't have before, is able to see when something is posted. Is it posted correctly? Does it work for the public to understand what someone's trying a message they're trying to convey. And then should the communications department then push that information out again on other platforms? Because we all know there isn't one single method at this point in time to communicate. Back in the 1980s, it was cable television. That's what it was, or a telephone. What else was there? Paper, newspaper? Well, now there's millions of ways. We will have an app as well coming down the road, which will highlight maybe 15 to 10 major things that change and evolve over a year. And people will be able to easily see that as well. But right now, the website is going to be a key component of our communication process, especially with COVID being closed. You may want to search something at midnight or 2 in the morning or 5 in the morning where we're not open or available. But we want to make you be able to find what you need and do what you need. And there's a lot of new portals. We have a brand new portal on there on our website through our permits and application, which is through development services. So it makes it easier for contractors or anybody that needs a building permit, even household members that do their own work that need a permit can actually go through that and get that done, and they will be able to pay for it. Right now that is in the works, but they'll be able to do everything, get a receipt, and you're done. So, we need to be into the 21st century. We need to do what local businesses and higher businesses in the world do. But bigger businesses that people are used to. When you go on to Amazon and buy something, it's pretty simple. Well, we're trying to make that ease in the local government as well, just like that, because that's the society we live in now, and I don't see it changing and going backwards.
Tom, we hear people say sometimes, that government needs to run more like a business. And there's a lot of things we can't do. I mean, we have 2 readings of ordinances. We have all these things that require process and time. But efficiencies and effectiveness of communicating with people is something we can do. And getting people the answers that they need, helping them to secure city services without even leaving their home. That is the kind of thing that we want to be more proactive about.
Yeah, definitely. We want to provide those answers and make it easy for the citizen, the new entrepreneur that may want to come here, staff, alderpersons, mayor, you name it, to make it easier to get the job done. Because we don't want to be a hindrance. There's no way we want to be a hindrance. We want to help make things easier, better, more efficient, on all ends, hopefully cost less money to do certain things, less paperwork, less filing, you name it. That's our goal with technology, we'll do that. But it also has a heavy price on taking the time to learn it correctly on all forms. So Tuesday night, my plan is to give a really high level, what does this website have and what will it have moving forward and what people can do with it. That's really where I want to go with the presentation. So I hope people tune in, and it's our portal to really speak with the people.
Well, and just to wrap this up, Tom, I mean, you're looking for council feedback on Tuesday night, and you're looking for staff feedback right now. People are giving you questions and concerns. How can the average person out there listening to us today, if they have questions about the website or if they have ideas for future ways to make it more user-friendly, how can they plug in?
Yeah, we really would like communication from citizens. Our department of communications is really a public portal for the city to use. We are here to help educate the public. A little different than us trying to educate staff. We're here to educate the public. So if it doesn't work for the public, we need to know. And they can call us. I'll leave a number here, 715-207-0379. And for those that know that number or are not sure, we do a dual role here. We also run public access, and that is a dual role. It is totally an opposite. I don't want to say opposite, but a totally different function of communications department, because the communications department works with departments of the city and does city government communications, and that's what the website we're talking about. Marshfield Media Access is a piece of what we do, which is a whole nother, I could say department, but we don't refer to it as a department. a public area for the public to engage and do stuff as well. And that has its own website as well and its own media platforms. So yeah, we have a lot of things on our plate. And this meeting will just address city government pieces, but they can call us at that number. They can email us at communications@ci.marshfield.wi.us. Call us anytime. We're here. We basically run a 12-hour shift Monday through Friday because David comes in later. We're available, but we could be out on location. So please bear in mind, there's only 2 of us in this department. And we're going to do our best to get back to each and every one that does ask questions. But, if there's something not working right, please do. I had thought about maybe even having, if we didn't have COVID and stuff, would be inviting out like an open house, but maybe down the road, that would be something we can do for the public to learn a little bit more about the website and what it can do. But my presentation is going to be for the council as well as the public, but for the council to chime in and maybe provide some insight or ideas because we can always change things on the website or change functions or make functions work better if they're not working the way people would like them to.
Excellent, Tom. Thanks. I look forward to your presentation on Tuesday night. Well, let's flip it around and you can get back to asking me the questions as we start looking ahead or looking backward, actually.
Let's look backwards. There'll be consent agenda items that we did have a finance meeting, JL and Public Works. They'll go in our consent agenda, those items. So people tune in on Tuesday night, they'll be able to hear if someone pulls something out on there. But we went through the main things that are going to be beyond that. So let's look at 2020, like you said. And there are some big things. I'm going to just start off with a fun topic, which is the pool. I think everybody is going to be excited come June or July when hopefully that opens of a brand new pool.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, but it's something you can never talk about enough, Vanderhay Waters. And the current pool or the outgoing pool, HEFCO, the oldest pool in the state of Wisconsin. I mean, just think about that. You're in a community that has the oldest pool in this entire state at well over 80 years. So Vanderhay Waters, opening this summer, diving boards, water slides, concession stand, all sorts of nice amenities. People are excited about it. They gave to it. One of the things the mayor talks about, Tom, is how the giving really actually got us over the top during COVID. And, you say, well, how do you raise money during COVID? I mean, people are wondering what the future is for their homes, for their businesses. And yet it was during that time that we got some major gifts and also a lot of smaller gifts that have helped to move us to a point where the total monies raised was more than needed. We were looking for $3 million in private contributions. We exceeded that by quite a bit. And we're grateful to all the people who donated, whether you donated tens of thousands of dollars or just, a couple $100. It all helps, and it's making this amenity possible.
Yeah, and a lot of work has gone through by several departments in our city, contractors to make this come to fruition. The group that Justin put together with the mayor and other community leaders is where it started and still is meeting today. And as I understand, they are still looking for donations, so they can reach out to the Parks and Rec Department or reach out to the Community Foundation because that's the entity that is handling the monies. And they definitely are looking for more donations for new amenities that can be done, or chairs. I believe things like that, deck chairs, things like that you could find on the city website or call the Parks and Rec. So.
You're right on target, Tom. Two things: more amenities or covering overages. If it turns out that some conditions occur to where the cost overruns occur. Either way, we appreciate every dollar from the public. And let me give another shout out to the council. I think I did this when you and I did a program a month or so ago. The mayor and the council grabbed onto the vision of not opening, because of COVID largely, but not opening at all in 2020 and giving the go-ahead, full steam ahead to get this project going. If they hadn't done that, if we'd have tried to operate some modified season for HEFCO Pool in the summer of 2020, we would not be ready to open the new facility in the summer of 2021. they made it possible for us to get a big jump start on it, get going with the construction work. And so I'm very thankful to our elected leaders.
Yeah, and weather this year so far has been really favorable. We haven't had a blizzard, so but here I'll knock on wood here at this.
Yeah.
Point. Well, let's turn it. Let's talk about budget. That was an item that you've been working on for a long time, and there was a lot of changes in that.
Yeah, there was. It was about the time you were coming on board that that Ron Allman, our finance director, working with our financial advisors, picked up on the fact that monies were being transferred in ways that they shouldn't have been. I'll say it for I don't know how many times I've said this, not just here, but in other places. No monies were lost, no monies were embezzled, no monies were missing. But the fund transfers led us to believe that we had monies to use for the annual budget that we shouldn't have been using. So we had to find a way out of this, and Ron's been doing a lot of great stuff, and the council and mayor have been walking beside him. But the biggest piece was a structural budget deficit that's been caused by the fact that for years, we've been holding the tax rate kind of artificially low. Now, it wouldn't be artificially low if we had been drastically cutting expenses, then the revenue from taxes would have been meeting the costs. But what we were doing is supplementing a little bit with these other funds. And as a result, we were having minimal, in fact, in some years, Tom, not even any cost tax increases. Well, if you keep going year after year and you don't have some increase in the tax rate to keep up with inflation, you're going to fall behind. And so we found ourselves in a position where, our financial advisor said, you really need to increase the taxes by about 8% to get to where you're supposed to be, covering your debt payments fully and positioning yourself to really be funding your services. Well, that's a big jump. I mean, how often do you hear people talk about an 8% tax rate increase? We ended up at 7.4% in the end. And we caught some good breaks along the way. I mean, the other taxing jurisdictions, the county, the school district, and the tech college had much lesser increases. So the overall impact on the citizens was 3-point-something%, which was nice. We're only about a third of the tax bill. But really, by taking this step, the council has put themselves, and the mayor as well, they put themselves in a position where the 2022 budget, we're in a much better starting point to get back to a more normal life here. If you think about it though, Tom, if we had increased taxes, during this past decade by even 1 to 1.25% per year, which would have been, people expect, this entire conversation in the 2021 budget process would never have occurred. We would have been in a place where we were fully funding our services, but it was catch-up time, pay the piper, use whatever phrase you want. But they grabbed onto the notion that we needed to take the deep dive and then, really doing the surgery on the patient rather than sending the patient home with a Band-Aid or a bottle of pills. They decided that they wanted to actually take the pain necessary to get us to where we're able to heal.
All right. Yeah, that's a good explanation of that. In your tenure, Steve, have you seen keeping budget pretty flat like you did this year from last year? We're actually almost less than last year. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, we ended up about 0.5% lower in expenses this coming year than last year. And that's almost unheard of. I'll bet if I put out a note to all my peers across Wisconsin on the administrator's line and said, how many of you had expenses lower in the coming year than the past year? It'd be crickets. I've worked in 3 cities as city administrator, a total of 26 years. And I've never seen expenses go down from one year to the next. So we did trimming. If the public's wondering about this tax increase and they're thinking, why didn't they look at expenses first? We did. We brought it to where we actually spend less in real dollars than last year, which when you consider the increases in utility costs and all these other things, it's pretty hard to do. We took the pain on that side. It's not like we just asked the citizens to make up the full freight.
Yeah, and they're really not going to lose services. Our services have stayed the same. We're just working through with what we have and doing the best we can with what we have. No new certain plow trucks or new tools. Make them last another year or two is really what a lot of departments are doing now to help in this cost.
Yeah, Tom, a lot of the conversation was probably pretty similar to what a husband and wife might have at home, where they say, look, we need to replace that car. Well, we can't afford to right now. Can we Can we make it last a couple more years? What does it need? Well, it needs brakes. Well, okay, that's less expensive than a new car. So, I mean, it was good conversation. We want to keep our equipment and vehicles, to be, what they should be. But we looked at every way we could to save a few dollars to make this picture work.
All right. Well, we've had some nice construction projects, and they've went well. Cleveland Street was a big one, and I think it went smooth. It looks beautiful. Other pieces in construction, would you want to just chat about on how that worked in 2020?
Yeah, that was really the big one, Tom, the Cleveland Street project. It was our only reconstruction for the year. And I think I've talked about this on previous programs. We really wish we had the funding to do more reconstructs, but you try to make the existing street last as long as you can. So that's why we talk a lot about mill and overlay, where you grind up the existing surface and then lay it back down with another 2 inches of asphalt on top of it. You buy another 15, maybe 20 years on that street. So we did, I think we did probably close to $2 million of mill and overlay work, which is good. Asphalt resurfacing is a critical part of our pavement maintenance program. Otherwise, there weren't a lot of other big projects going on. I mean, obviously preparing for the pool was really the big hitter. There's been talk in the future, as you know, about the needs of a police station. The council has weighed in that when that happens, they want to see us remodel and expand on the current site. There's been talk about moving the police or the public works garage out of downtown, building a new one, because you really don't normally want to have a garage with vehicles and equipment and storage out in the yard in your downtown that people see when they drive into the downtown district. Both of those projects, based on our current debt situation, are probably a ways out. But I'm sure you'll hear talk about those as we get into the next few years, at least planning for them. For example, the library project was in the works for over a decade before it came to pass. So you have to start somewhere as you prepare for that moment.
Yeah. Well, we can't leave out COVID. That's probably the biggest story of the year for a lot of people in this country, world, I shall say. That has affected our business, I call business, a lot in ways that we have to do meetings in general. What is the outlook in 2021? And then, but first take a look back at 2020 and how we've done with COVID.
I think that COVID is probably a good one for us to end this program on, because it's so big. It was so unexpected. You can't plan for it. Those people like me and others who go to courses on how to be good city officials, there's no preparation for a pandemic. We did a lot of adapting. We learned a lot. We learned how to do meetings remote. We learned how to provide services electronically. I mean, not that we didn't know. One of the really good things that's come out of this, Tom, is that we've been able to engage a greater part of our citizenry in conducting business online or conducting business remotely, rather than feeling like they have to drive down to City Hall and walk up to the front counter. And I know you're a big advocate of this. I mean, it's all about helping them to do what they need to do and yet make it as easy as possible for our residents. They have full-time jobs, they have lives. They can't always come down here at 10 in the morning and meet with a staff person. But we've learned about, the ways that we need to be protecting ourselves from even future pandemics that might occur. We've learned a lot about how to provide health and safety. We bought some good equipment for which we've been reimbursed by the CARES program through the state, which has been nice that we got money back for those expenditures. I think the biggest thing, Tom, is that we've learned what really matters. I think most residents have learned what really matters too. What are the basics of who we are and what we do? If some things are canceled, if some things are closed, people are not happy. People were not happy to see Hefco Pool closed for the summer, but you take what you're given and you try and make the best of it. In that case, we were able to steer them to an earlier construction of the new aquatic center. And in other ways, we said, look, how can we meet your needs? How can we help you get the services you want in an era when we really can't be, meeting with you face to face all the time?
Yeah, that's very good points and well said on COVID-19. Just before we wrap up, which we're about here, 2021, is City Hall going to stay closed yet for some time? Do you have an answer on that?
Well, again, our premise is to keep the public and our staff members safe. We've had quarantines among many of our employees here, and that's made it hard to keep services going. There's all the hope with the vaccine coming out now that as we get, 3, 4, or 5 months into 2021, we'll begin to turn the corner on this pandemic. I hope so. You hope so. Everybody watching this hopes so. We don't know for sure. We don't know if enough people will take the vaccine, or if it'll be fully effective. And we don't really control everything in our world. And I think that's another thing we've had to learn. We need to adapt to things that we don't have control over. But I'm hopeful, Tom, that as we get into the later spring and the summer, we'll start to see some return to normalcy. I especially want that with Van de Hey waters coming online. It'd be nice to not have that hanging over our heads in terms of the restrictions we're facing right now. But again, as always, we'll be listening to the citizens. We'll be talking amongst council and staff, and we'll try to adapt, good or bad, to what comes our way.
Yeah, it's all we can do right now. So, well, let's hope for the vaccine works and people are, if they can, will be able to take that. I'll leave that up to them. That is their personal choice. So, well, Steve, thanks for all that information. This is our first council preview of the year. Common Council meeting is January 12th, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. And again, anybody is welcome. There will be a note at the top, I believe, of the agenda, which you'll be able to see off the website. You can get that there usually on Fridays or when they're posted. And soon you'll be able to get a notification if you want to sign up for those. It's not working yet, but we will have that. I just want to let people know that's a kind of an exciting thing for me, for people to sign up for agendas, minutes, so they know what's going on. It's another easy way to do that, or opt in or opt out. So tune in to channel 991 if you have a cable television. If you have Facebook, watch us live there at 6 o'clock. Otherwise, if you can't watch us live, we'll have it on our YouTube channel. And down the road, we'll have another streaming device back to our former called Granicus, but a much better quality. Hopefully get that up towards the end of the month as well. So I'll leave it as that, Steve. Thanks again for joining me on our council preview program.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And, in the background is a Christmas tree. I'm in my house right now, and I just hope that everybody had a nice Christmas and New Year's, and I hope that all the people watching us right now are looking forward to and hopeful for a really good 2021.